You're a pile of
who's
now. Okay, Hayley, you're in the middle today.
Cola bottles.
Front and centre.
Am I this one?
Okay, now Christine, you're over here.
It's Buy the cola bottles. Who's got the cola bottles?
No, I don't like birthday things.
Fizzy cola bottles are the best sweets in the whole world. They are. Female gets her revenge on rude men, and I'm like, it's really not what it is at all.
Colleen and I at war. Yes,
You've made it.
I've made it.
I think that the nature of the hostility has changed. Definitely guys have our back.
You're much better owning it if you feel you've the strength.
I can't afford to be taking however many months out of work.
You have to be a strong person though to be able to either just deal with it and live with it.
Take every opportunity and do it well.
Brought to you by SkyBet.
Hello, I'm Kelly Cates. Welcome to Not Just Football, part of the Overlap Network, brought to you by SkyBet. I'm here with Christine Lampard and Hayley McQueen, and we're going to use football as a springboard to talk about all kinds of things, and particularly the way in which sport affects our lives.
Now that I'm in very good company when it comes to this topic, it is women in sport, and how exciting is it for women now and young girls coming up through to feel, yes, I want that to be my profession. There are lots of roads to be taken within. That's a very, wide spectrum, obviously. But does it feel like a new time? Does it feel like women working in sport is something that is now achievable for a lot of young girls, which it wouldn't have felt 20 years ago?
Definitely achievable. I think the kind of balance between men and women is has become so much better. There are obviously still other hurdles. There are still issues around race, around different abilities, around about class. There's a lot of issue because a lot of internships and things like that are unpaid or very low paid. So I think there are lots of barriers that still exist, and I think people's paths in are still different. And I think while definitely it's much more visible, the number of women working in sport, I don't think that same balance has been achieved behind the scenes. It's definitely increased, but it hasn't it increased at the rate that you're seeing it on screen. So I think it's very much front and centre.
Especially not with written journalists either. When you look in, you kind of look in broadcasting in front of screen, as you just mentioned there. There are a lot of female faces, but there are not many female names writing about the women's game, and
well, it's because women are judged first and foremost on how they look, isn't it? It's like we'll have you. We'd like you to be able to do your job, but we'll have you because you're vaguely decorative.
But that's what it was like, though, 20 years ago. One of the only reasons would be because you look a certain way. And if you knew about sport, well, that was kind of a bonus, wasn't it, really?
And if not, you could learn. And if you didn't learn, well, all right, then. That was us.
We learned quick. It's taken us 20 years, we made it.
But it's a little bit like, and it's true that definitely that pathway is more open to women working in sport, but it is still a different pathway from the one that men go through. It's a bit like the Ginger Rogers quote when she says, "Yes, I do everything Fred Astaire does, just backwards and in high heels." That everybody looks as though everything's the same and that people are equal, but their paths and their journeys have been very different.
It's interesting, the people behind the scenes, like you say there, which was my route into what I do, and I'm working behind the scenes. And just the other day, we were doing the Lorraine programme and Loose Women, and it was for the first time a complete female camera crew. Just all girls, and actually one of the girls, Catherine, who started 10 years ago, she reminded me the other day, because I was there on the first day she started, and I was like, wow, gosh, and here she is leading up a team. And that's really impressive, because I don't think there are maybe as many women in that sort of technical side. That always fascinated me. That's all I ever wanted to do. But it's sort of allowing people to know what there is to do. Like, it can be really exciting. To do the bits that aren't on screen. That could be just as much fun.
Have you ever found it difficult? Have you ever had negative... Because the reason I'm asking you that is because I think that the nature of the hostility has changed in that it isn't overt. There's no room for kind of overt hostility to women in that environment. But there are certain things that you pick up on that if you started to explain them to somebody who didn't get it, they'd be like, well, that seems normal. That just could be because of this, or it could be because of whatever. But there are some people you definitely get a vibe from that you think they're not really very comfortable with a woman being in this room or being in this space, I think.
Sometimes, yeah. And you can't really call it out because you don't know if it's like an obvious. You're like, oh, is it just me? Is it me being paranoid?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, just
are they awkward with everyone?
Being silly. Is this what they're
or
just like?
Or is it just me personally they don't like?
Not that I'm a woman. It's just me.
Yeah, but there are definitely circumstances where it's like that.
Have
but
you
then
felt
also,
it as well?
But also, I think sometimes there are times when people are looking for problems when they aren't one. Like when I was on with Jamie and Gary, there was an incident where we were working down at Southampton, and they were going from where our pitch side presentation point was to go down the tunnel to interview the Southampton manager, Ralph Hasenhüttl, at the time. And they'd been told, Kelly's going to ask you a question, you're going to answer the question, and then you're going to turn and walk down to the dressing room, and this is your little topic of conversation to carry you through that walk. Okay, this is all sorted, this is fine. So Ralph was ready earlier than the guys expected. So they'd been told, Ralph is ready when you are. So we came on air and I said, Jamie, Gary, big game ahead. Some kind of question about Ralph Hasenhüttl. What do you think? And they spun on their heels and started walking off towards the tunnel to go down and interview Ralph Hasenhüttl. But the problem was because the camera, the Steadicam operator, was walking along behind the guys. I'm constantly in vision behind them. And all I kept getting, it was Lawrence, the director, and he's constantly keen me going, Cal, you're still in vision. Yeah, they can still see you, still there, just keep looking. So there's just me in the background like that. Holding my microphone up, just thinking, why am I still here? But it got blown into this. I woke up the next morning.
Social media.
And it was like, oh my God, I can't believe they've been so disrespectful. I can't believe they've treated her like this. They've not taken her seriously. I was like, no, it's just because they're really bad at the walking and talking parts of things. This is not like I've not taken this at all personally.
I forgot that was how it was at
That's
first,
how it
because
started.
then it turned into something
because
that became
because then our producer Jack and the promo department said, we're going to do a promo around the Manchester Derby about this and kind of reverse the roles. And I was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. It's long gone. It's been 2 weeks. Nobody remembers. Nobody cares. This is ridiculous. Yeah, right. And I was kind of like, a bit eye-rolly and tutty about it. So I was like, yeah, fine, I'll do it. So we get to the promo and we do the promo, and I said to the guy, they said, Kelly, when's it on? And I turned my back and walked in the opposite direction. And it was like, so hilarious. What a #girlboss. And my kids really like it. Yeah. So it was seen as this. It's seen as this kind of, female gets her revenge on rude men. And I'm like, it's really not what it is at all. But it was, it was quite funny.
It's so bizarre. We constantly are pitted against each other on Loose Women, which I always find really interesting. We've made a joke about it on air, and I've said it many's a time, where it was always, Colleen up against Denise or whatever it might be. And it's always nonsense. And I was always gutted that I was never included in any of the arguments that supposedly were going on behind the scenes. And then it happened only a matter of weeks ago, and the headline of one of the sort of female magazines was Colleen and I at war. And the two pictures were us looking sort of angry at each other, wedged together. And I thought, yes,
you've made it.
I've made it. Battleground. And it was Colleen brought it in and she went, have you seen this? And we were going to do a jokey thing about it, and we still might do something. Yeah. But I think sometimes that's the best way to deal with anything, particularly when there's no element of truth in it.
Yeah. You're
much better owning it if you feel you've the strength to do that. A lot of people maybe don't want to, but if you do, I think if there's sense of humour about stuff, that is the best way to deal with anything awkward.
The guys really bought into it as well. So as I'm walking off, they had to show their acting chops, and they're like that. As I was walking off, when they had to put sad faces on, it was like
they were really bothered.
They were really sad.
Really
obviously,
offended.
I couldn't see them because they were over my shoulder.
They're just doing this back,
and they're like that. It was funny. But those magazines where it's when you're standing queuing up at the supermarket and you see them, you're like,
you catch a glimpse of yourself.
They're all falling out. I believe all of them. I believe all of them.
Well, there has been the odd time I've been standing, and I'm thankfully, touch wood, not on them that often, but occasionally when you do and you catch yourself and you go, and you're desperate to sort of see what it is, but you're in a queue. And you don't want anyone else to think you're looking at yourself, because that makes you look like a right idiot. And you're like,
standing to the cashier.
And it's like you're in a world of your own pain as you're about to pay for your groceries. Not having a clue what they're saying.
He's like, he would go through papers or magazines and he'd be like, oh, they've got some story in about me. It's a load of rubbish. And then he'd flip the page and he'd be like, oh my God, look what they've been up to.
It's exactly.
So true.
I do that.
Yeah. Some people get really, really picky about like going into breaks and things like that.
Yeah, it's it's your line, and whoever would start would be like, oh, I'm anchoring the programme.
Really?
So it'd be like little fights over.
Oh my goodness.
Not so much. Not now.
No.
We kind of work as teams and in pairs. But yeah, I can't remember which was the female and male side. I just remember, I think it was a good side. I was like, I'm okay with this.
I remember that from my floor management days between when I worked on news programmes with a male and female presenter.
Row. Was it BBC Breakfast? Had a big row about it.
Yes,
didn't
they did.
And Dan Walker came out and he's like, it's a load of rubbish.
Yes,
but it was,
that's right.
BBC
I remember
Breakfast
reading
had a big
that.
row about
Mm-hmm.
it. Not internally, but externally there was a to-do.
And it must be a sort of subconscious kind of, it's a power struggle, obviously, isn't it? And just sort of making imprints and going, well, you're very good, but I am the boss.
Yes.
It's that sort of unspoken rule, isn't it? To be very uncomfortable. You have to be a strong person, though, to be able to either just deal with it and live with it or battle it head on. Yeah. It depends on where you feel you're at.
And sometimes just to sort of appease, you just, okay, I'll just sit here, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like I've done it before with a male when they tried to swap things up for a little while, and he was not happy about. He was like, but it's because I'm just comfortable and I wear my earpiece in this ear and I can hear out of this ear, and I just feel like this is the camera that I'm used to. This is the angle. I was like, you just don't want me to be in this chair, do you?
On the flip side of that, have you had any sort of male counterparts who've had your back, or you kind of know that they'll always have me? They'll always understand where I'm coming from and they'll stick up for me when I'm not in the room.
I had a contract somewhere, and it wasn't another presenter, because sometimes they can get a little territorial. But it was a boss I had, and I was on a contract, and he put me, without me asking, he volunteered to put me on the same money as the guy and said, you're doing the same job, you should be paid the same amount of money. And he came to me and said, I've just looked at them and that's not right. And put me on the same money without me even approaching him.
Yeah, we did that at Sky. We were quite honest about what some of us were earning. We'd all moved to kind of staff. We didn't sit there and say, what do you earn? What do you earn? But we kind of knew that we're sort of levels of experience.
Yeah.
And they did sit down and have really great conversations with us and being very transparent. Yeah, they were very transparent about pay, and I think, it kind of leveled out. It certainly wasn't like that for many years. I wouldn't have dared go in and ask for a pay rise. I'd have been absolutely terrified that I'd be put back in my place and you should just be grateful to be here, which when I first started out is definitely how I felt. Yeah. But you've got two people.
Some of that's youth, isn't it? I mean, some of that is just youth and inexperience, and you think, well, actually, I am just really lucky to be here. And
and when you're working with somebody who's been there for 10 years more than you, and you earned your right to earn more money, kind of thing. Yeah. So, but there definitely, there are no issues with us right now at Sky. I'm very, very lucky to be in that position, and definitely guys have our back. Going to host events and doing corporate jobs, and you may be co-presenting, and one's got one agent who's asking for one fee, and the other might not have an agent or a different agent who's pitched a different fee, and then the guy's like, well, you just get paid the same as me. I had that hosting Leicester City Awards with a presenter, with Manish Bhasin.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, well, whatever Hayley's earning, like, it'll just be the same, won't it? Yeah. But obviously different agents kind of pitch for different fees. But he was like, well, we're doing the same job. So that's just how it is.
You talk about just pay and equal pay and everything else. It's interesting, again, when you think of sport and how our female athletes, our female football players, at what point do we think it will all be that sort of equal kind of where it's just spread equally amongst, if you do that job, well, you're doing that job. I know so much of it relies on, well, the audience is bigger there and there's more shirts sold there, and so there's lots of other variables, and I do understand that.
It's like when they levelled out the prize money at Wimbledon.
Yeah,
and Serena Williams had been talking about it.
That's a really good example, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is.
And
there in front of you.
Box office, so she brings a lot of attention to any tournament. Did bring a lot of attention to any tournament she was playing in, and excellence as well. And she said, look, even if you're talking about we're playing 3 sets and the men are playing 5 sets, she said we're still training exactly the same amount. All those hours you're not paying for the amount of time that we're on court. In which case you might as well pay us per minute of appearance. She said what you're paying us for is everything else that goes into becoming an elite athlete, which is exactly the same whether it's a man or a woman.
Yeah. But then there comes a time where things happen in life where, unlike men, if you're going to go on to have children, you have to take a little step back, take a side step, hope the opportunities that were there as somebody child-free without responsibilities are still going to be there when you return to work. I know a lot of females in our industry who didn't have children until much later on, and I'm probably one of those as well. I just maybe wasn't with the right person at the right time, but I definitely bide my time, because I was, and had I have had children in my 20s, I would have been terrified of stepping away from an industry that I was battling to work my way up through, particularly at Sky at the time, thinking I can't afford to be taking however many months out of work, or if you're freelance, losing that money, like not being able to earn because you might not be with a Premier League footballer who can help pay for you and help fund time off work. But regardless of what your partner does or not, you want to be somebody who earns, who deserves the right to go back to work and go back equally, but equally be looked after and taken care of, and work with other females who have a really good understanding of what it's like to return to work as a mother, and all the worries that you have with that as well. And you become this kind of, I was a bit of a paranoid hormonal mess for
as well as
quite
wanting
a
to
lot
be a good
of it.
mummy. You know, like that's like you're this massive new role that comes into your life suddenly with all that other baggage you've just spoken about. It actually is, it can be a very, very difficult time for it. Was used to in the freelance world. It's almost impossible for so many women to try and have it all, as we all talk about, but it's difficult.
And the thing is, with so many pressures on women, when you're talking about balancing particularly motherhood and career, and then there's the whole idea of image, and then if you're working with men, is there an element of sexism? If you're working with women, is there an element of bitchiness? Everybody's being pitted against each other all the time, and in the midst of all of that, you have to have a really strong sense of self, which when you're young and you're starting out, you don't have. It can really knock your confidence, because like we touched on earlier, you don't know if it's part of something systemic or if it's just you, and that's where when you are young and don't know yourself, that it can affect your confidence.
Did you ever find, and I remember people saying to me when I was off on maternity leave, oh, are you going to go back to work? I'm like, well, that's a really stupid, yeah, of course I'm going to go back to work. I need to earn money, but even if I didn't need to earn the money, that's my career, that's what I love. Did you ever find yourself in a position where, she just become a mum now and it doesn't really matter anymore?
And actually weird, like you say about having children a bit older, which I did as well. I remember thinking I definitely want to go back. Of course I did. And I'm trying to think how long it was before I did go back. But I do remember still loving the baby bubble. And I think it was because I was older and had a great 20s, 30s, was fantastic. I did all my partying and all the bits. I was actually really quite content and happy to have this time, because I never had it before, really, where you were kind of allowed to stay in. And you had a very valid reason to with this newborn. And so for me, I was very happy to do that. And I went back, I think I was about 7 months, Patricia was. But I was only going back one day at that stage. Okay. And you're in at 7:30 and you're home for 2:00, 2:30. So it wasn't even a full day. But that, again, that's a privilege. lots of women don't have that choice.
Yeah.
You've got to go back, and then that's when, you know, so many. Oh, it's so difficult. I have a friend living through it right now, trying to sort childcare constantly, and it's just so difficult for so many families to try and make that dynamic work. But if you have a job you love as well, you don't want to let go of it either. So
that's it. I had the safety and security of being staff at Sky. I was very well looked after and took my maternity leave and went back when I wanted to. You were completely freelance. You had your 2 girls.
Yeah, and freelance when I had my eldest, I was completely freelance and just kind of that was it. I did the job or I didn't, you know, I worked or I didn't get paid. And then I ended up, where did I, with Gabs, I was working, and then afterwards it was the start of a new season, and so I just wasn't working again after that for a little while, and then I waited for another job to come up. And then with my second, I learned my lesson because I didn't have a child in mid-season. I had my second at the beginning of June, and then was back in for the start of the next season, so mid-August. But it was a day a week. It was a half day a week, just like a couple of hours a week and a few hours a week. And then, but again, you know, it was about keeping my hand in as a freelancer as much as anything else. But also, like Christine says, I was lucky I had that choice. You know, I was lucky, one, that I was able to work that little just to be able to keep my hand in, and 2, that there was a job available that would allow me to be able to do that. It wasn't like, we want you back full time. No, you either come in and do 5 full days or not at all. So yeah, in that sense, I was quite lucky, and I wasn't out too much when she was very tiny, because I didn't really want to be. I know friends of mine who couldn't wait to get back to work. They were like, they needed adult conversation and they needed to have that different balance in their life. But I was I was like you. I was at the beginning, especially. I was very lucky to just kind of
I did.
I would just be at home
do it
pottering
practically all the time still.
Yeah.
I'm very content with children's conversations.
I got lucky because we were doing. I had her, and then lockdown happened, so there was no one to speak to, and I was literally locked up at home. It wasn't like I was going out taking her to amazing places. So I went back a little earlier than I'd intended, because I just want to be around people. I want to speak to people. I want to go into an office and drink coffee from
finish it while it's hot.
Yeah, so I went back for all the wrong reasons, just to get a break from being locked up in a house.
Feel like a normal person again.
I know.
Yeah.
On TikTok, it's Annie McGrath, and she's done this kind of skit of the various types of women's football supporters.
What time's the interval?
That's me.
You know what I mean?
When do I get the tea?
Pickford. No, I missed the first half because I was queuing for the new Stella McCartney range of wetsuits. Trying to make the game more
I want to be that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one I love, the young girl. Because I love the little girl in there whose dad takes her just for like emotional manipulation. It's always, and do you know what, on social media, it's always the guys who are like father to 2 precious princesses, who are like the most vitriolic, like sexist, aggressive people. Brought to you by SkyBet.
One of the nicest ones.
Oh.
Question for
One of the
Christine.
nicest ones.
So it's, what advice would you give someone trying to get into broadcasting? I want you to answer that one.
Goodness.
Thank you.
Advice in broadcasting? Oh. Again, that's a tough one, isn't it? Depending on, you might have a specific area you want to go to, but if you were, I always wanted to work with cameras, but I was willing to do anything just to be part of this environment, a studio environment. So I literally had 1 day of work experience making tea, and I made sure I'd made that tea well.
Yeah.
And I got asked back the next week to make tea again, and that is literally how it started. But I took pride in all of those boring little jobs, and I just wanted to be as good as I could be, to feel like I could be asked back again, which I was, and here I am how many years later, and just be willing to get your hands dirty. I was always the first one there, I was never late, I was the last one to leave, I was always just willing to sort of go above and beyond, only purely because I loved it so much. No one asked me to do that. I just wanted to do it well. So I think the best bit of advice is stick with it. Don't be worrying about starting low down. Don't think about up here. Start here and work your way up. Learn everyone else's jobs and have an appreciation for everyone. And I think if you have anything about you, you'll flourish.
It's not a linear industry at all,
No,
is it?
no, not
so
at
there's
all.
no point in going in with a grand plan of where you want to be in year 1, year 5, year 10. It doesn't work like that. You have to wait for openings as well. So
That's it.
in the meantime, take every opportunity and do it well. And then see where it goes.
We've had quite a few women at Sky coming and think, oh, I want to be a presenter, I want to do this. And actually, they've enjoyed another aspect of behind the scenes that they're like, actually, I feel more comfortable doing this and I'm going to enjoy this for now and maybe I'll get to there. But there are so many roles for different women now. And actually, a lot of the ones that come in that are so enthusiastic and so desperate, they just want it now. They just want it. And you're like, you just have to be calm. You just have to bide your time. That's the kind of advice, isn't it? Just be patient.
But the most frustrating thing to be told when you're young, though, you've got so much time ahead of you, and you're like that. Oh, shut up! I'm going to be 25 next year. My life will be over.
God.
I've got what is my death row 3-course meal, which I always find that a really weird question because I think I wouldn't be hungry. Yes. And it'd be one of the few occasions in my life where I was like, the last thing I actually care about. But I think if I did, I genuinely have given this some thought.
I know mine.
I know mine.
But I would have I would want like my granny's soup. Like something like that, but not my mum's. And my mum's favourite wasn't her mum's either. It was her granny's. There's a very specific 2-generation gap here. It has to be my granny's soup, either chicken or her lentil soup. I'd take either. And then I would want like proper home cooked, like mince and potatoes, or like
not a Christmas dinner or anything.
I don't really like roast dinners very much.
Christmas, not the Christmas dinner.
No. So what I like, I like Yorkshire puddings. I like roast potatoes. I like cauliflower cheese.
Oh yeah.
Rest of it I can take. I like gravy.
Okay.
So everything bar the roast.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm not bothered about the meat. I'm not bothered about all the veg that you put in to be healthy.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not bothered about all that.
I know. Yeah.
I want carbs and gravy, basically.
That's it. Exactly.
Carbs, cheese, gravy.
That's easy. That's good.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I would have that.
Dessert.
I don't really care. I've not got a very sweet tooth. Despite the fact that I've like ploughed into those fizzy cola bottles.
Cheese board? No?
Yeah, okay.
With the red wine?
Yeah, okay. Loads of red wine.
There you go.
If I'm going to death row, I want to be absolutely comatose.
Well, that could be your starter, main and dessert.
Yeah. In fact, I'll probably drink myself to death before they actually get a chance to kill me off. I'm like, well, it's in my own hands. Just took that power away from you.
I would definitely do prawn cocktail. Good one. I'm fussy about it now. My mum's one, actually, talking about family recipes. Mum's prawn cocktail. Then I think, a really good, and again, I'm fussy about it, spaghetti bolognese.
Yes.
Just basic, old school, as you say, mince type feel, but a really good one. Actually, Frank makes a brilliant one. I let him do spaghetti bolognese at home, so I'd have that. And then I'd have my mum's pavlova.
Yes.
Mum does the best one. I've never ever tasted anything better anywhere, and that's where I would go. And then as much red wine and margaritas I could get down my neck.
Definitely the margaritas.
Oh my God, yes. Margarita. And occasionally, maybe a Negroni just to finish everything off.
Why not? Sounds like a really posh prison, this, doesn't it?
I know.
They've got a cocktail bar, a restaurant.
And I'd like it brought to me with a cloche.
Oh my goodness. I would go for crispy duck pancakes or Chinese.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's a late entry. I like it.
I don't know if my starter, main and dessert go together.
Yeah,
normally if I've got fish, it has to be this and it has to go with that. But I'm exactly the same as you. It used to be a Christmas dinner, but I think my mum's spaghetti bolognese, and you cannot beat it. I have tried making it, but it's never as good as how your mum does it. With shavings of parmesan over the top, and then profiteroles with the hot chocolate sauce and the cream. And I'd eat so much, I'd just burst before I got to the chair.
I don't really like shavings of parmesan.
What?
I like it grated.
Oh, do you?
She's very, very fussy about her food.
You can't mix it in. You get like lumps, and then it's like little melty bits.
But it's the fun of waiting for it to sort of melt and then.
I like it. I have strong opinions. Honestly, God, don't get me on food. I have really strong opinions.
I can't wait for the dinner party.
No, you're not coming round to mine.
We'll do crisps.
With bowls of crisps.
And
I've
tea.
got strong views on that.
Strong views on crisps. Strong views on tea.
Crisps. Don't start me at crisps.
Tea.
Tato, cheese and onion.
Oh, yes.
Made back home. Yeah. Best on the face of this planet. Yeah. Just put it out there. Okay. Anyway, Gary Lineker disagrees.
Who's he? His opinion doesn't count.
Oh, dear, yes.
Okay.
Right, go on, Hayley.
I don't know. This is a tough one. I'm not going to go for one of the serious ones. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh gosh, again.
Do you know what? I don't think I'd move.
No.
London.
Because my friends are here. My kids' friends are here.
Yeah.
I don't.
What about a holiday house?
Yeah, do you know what? I wouldn't want
East London.
I wouldn't want a holiday house either. And the reason is I wouldn't want the maintenance. I like to be able to choose where I'm going. I want to go to a hotel and have somebody look after me. Yes. I don't want somebody to ring me up and go, oh, there's a leak.
No, I totally
and suddenly
agree
I've got
with
to make a phone call in a different language and sort it out. I don't see the point.
Yeah.
Sorry, I feel like
You're just ruining all of this.
No, it's not that. I'm not trying to ruin it. I feel... Do you know
you are.
Why I'm laughing is... Do you know you don't realise how odd you are until you start to explain things to people?
We get it now.
And I have really strong views on stuff that aren't important. But if they're
important to you, it's all right.
Clearly, they are.
I'm with you. There's
Where would you live?
There's places I love visiting. Yeah. And I'm a massive fan of Thailand. I love Thailand. Right. And I love the kind of island life and barefoot. Yeah. And I love the food. I'm obsessed with the food. Oh, and a Penang curry, Malaysia, Indonesia, anywhere like that. But there is no place like home. I wouldn't move from here. No way.
Do you know where I would maybe go somewhere in the north of Scotland. Like somewhere near one of those gorgeous beaches.
Okay.
Somewhere like that. With skiing nearby and a bit I would maybe do that. I'm that adventurous.
As far as she is. Wow. Yes, that's a good answer.
I did a DNA analysis thing for work reasons. So I did this DNA analysis and it came back and I was like, it was 89% Scottish and Irish and 11% Northern English. I have got the least adventurous ancestors in the entire world.
They didn't like to go anywhere either.
Nobody has moved. Like they've never crossed an ocean. The furthest distance across water they've travelled is like a sea that they could probably swim across.
Wow. No, we don't want to go over there. There'll be leaks all over the place.
I wouldn't know what to do. Honestly, I've got the most boring DNA that anybody could ever have.
So the international break is over. Super 6 prediction time, ladies, where of course players have the opportunity to win £250,000 if they correctly predict the weekend's 6 Premier League fixtures. Okay, Arsenal v Nottingham Forest.
I think this is really interesting because Forest have been good. They've been so good. They've been like this, and I know they lost last time out, but they've been the sort of surprise, definitely been the surprise team of the season. Arsenal had a little wobble before the international break. They've got players coming back, haven't they?
If it was at Nottingham Forest, I'm with you. I think they could just do a little job over Arsenal. But the fact it's at home, they're refreshed. I think
players back. The Odegaard coming back to proper fitness.
Exactly.
I know he's played, but he's coming back to proper fitness.
I'm going for an Arsenal win.
Gonna say like a 2-1
Okay,
Arsenal.
let's go that.
2-1.
2-1.
Right, Aston Villa v Crystal Palace. Aston Villa at home. I'm going Villa.
I think they can concentrate now just back on the league. Yeah. They've had a bit of fun in Europe. I think it's taken a lot out of them. But yeah, a Villa win.
I think a Villa win. I think it could be 2-0.
2-0. I love the fact you analyse it. You see like proper football and people, whereas I do it like the Grand National. Where
the red team.
The red team. Oh, I like his jersey. Right, okay. Bournemouth v Brighton.
Oh, this is hard.
I'm going
South Coast derby.
Yeah,
ish.
Brighton, I think. But by what?
Just cheeky little 1-0.
Should we do that? Little cheeky 1-0. Cheeky 1-0.
It's very interesting, ladies. I'm not feeling this, but anyway. Right, okay. Man City v Tottenham.
City.
They couldn't need a win more.
Yeah.
Haaland's back scoring internationally, isn't he?
Yeah. He's got a little bit of confidence from his
Wouldn't we love to
times
see
with
them
Norway.
lose again?
Would you?
How dare you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just for fun.
Punchy.
No, sorry. I'm completely impartial at Sky.
I mean, again, similarly with Odegaard at Arsenal, like De Bruyne's back and properly fit, and that De Bruyne Haaland thing. And
that is true.
do you know the only thing I would say is it's at City. So this
I
is
know, that's it, isn't it?
But the only thing I would say is Tottenham, the way they play those direct kind of attacks where City have been increasingly vulnerable.
Yeah, very.
Is where Tottenham are strong. So with a qualifier,
Yes.
a City win?
Yeah.
I would say 2-0. That's what I'm feeling.
Pick a score.
2-0.
You think?
I might even go
but
more.
Oh, really?
Only because I think Tottenham, maybe even like a 3-1 or something.
Okay, let's go 3-1 then.
3-1. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Southampton v Liverpool. That's a Liverpool win, isn't it?
Liverpool
It
are
should
just
be.
full of confidence, loving life.
The one game they did lose was against Nottingham Forest after the international break at Anfield. But then, as we said, Forest have turned out to have had a brilliant start to the season.
Yeah,
around,
very true.
have caused problems for teams. Southampton have not necessarily done that so far this season. Maybe it should be.
I just think they're not under that much pressure at the moment. They're just enjoying life, aren't they, Liverpool, right now?
If we go on form so far this season, it should be a Liverpool.
Yeah, it will be a Liverpool win.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'd have said 2-0 Liverpool, but anyway, I'm going to let you two because,
1-0.
Do you want to go 2-1?
Oh, yeah, we like a 2-1. Yeah, 2-1.
2-1, right, okay. Ipswich, Man United.
Ruben Amorim's first game in charge.
And Kieran McKenna, of course, linked with the job heavily as well. So he'll be wanting to show his mettle.
Yeah. He sets the teams up. He sets his teams up well, especially at home. But then the thing is, he doesn't know what they're going to do under Amorim. So it's he's preparing for an unknown quantity.
Very true.
And the players are just going to be refreshed, and new manager, changes as good as a rest and all that.
They get the bounce.
Because I really want that 1-0. I keep banging on about 1-0. Yeah.
Okay.
You think more?
Yeah, but I'll go with 1-0.
1-0? Okay. Right. Interesting, ladies. Now, I didn't contribute to any of that because it would have been right then. But anyway, we'll see how you two get on.
We're channeling your psychic powers.
Yes, that's what it is. Watch out for one of our big announcements coming in the next week across our socials, including on our Instagram, Not Just Football Pod. And don't forget to subscribe to the Overlap Network, brought to you by SkyBet.